So there's two ways we can go right now, Joel, if you'd like. And good to see you, Matt and Joel and Wi-Fi.
All
Thank
right.
you. So
You
I
too.
had two problems, and you can pick the avenue we go down. I'd prefer to go down the route of morality because I love moral arguments. They're so fun. But you also talked about the God requiring or making a threeness, like our reason, our logic, certain things, a threeness. So are you saying it's impossible that the God could have made us with a duality? Is that an impossibility for your God?
Could have made us with a duality. I'm not sure I understand what
Well,
you
you
mean
were
by
saying
that.
logic is composed of a threeness, I believe. Other things are composed of a threeness, and thus we are made in the image of God. Could this God have made us with logic that is composed of a duality?
Well, there are three laws of logic: the law of identity, the law of non-contradiction, and the law of excluded middle.
Yes.
Each of them is equally ultimate to one another, and so the Christian worldview is the one that accounts for that. So, are you asking if God could have like instantiated only a worldview in which there are only two laws of
No,
logic?
no.
Is that what,
You were talking about how we are made in God's image, not the laws of logic.
that was in reference to the reliability of our truth-seeking faculties,
Correct.
not the three laws of logic.
Yes, yes. And our truth-seeking faculties have a threeness to them.
No, I did not say that.
You,
I
you,
said that there are. I pointed out three. But
you
that
did
was
say
not
I was
the
writing it.
same. You're mixing arguments.
No, but I was writing it down. You were saying there was a threeness to it, and thus we are in the image of God.
I did not say that. No.
I got thrown back. Okay, we should switch to morality then, because I find that way more fascinating.
Okay.
Would you like to? Sorry, I don't want to be so cantankerous at the start. But would you like to know my problem with the Christian God and morality?
Sure.
Sure. Well, the first thing I'd present to you is for any proposition, either A or not A is true, which you just mentioned a second ago. I think we can all agree to that, right?
Matt, do you agree with that?
A or not A, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And so from this, it is either wrong to use rape as a punishment or it is not wrong in all instances. Like, let's say it is either the case that is always wrong to use rape as a punishment, or it is not the case that is always wrong.
I don't
Not
understand.
my rule, just to be sensitive to
Rape?
YouTube.
You want me to say
Yeah,
another word?
yeah,
Okay.
no worries. Thank you.
We'll say SA or something. Sorry. Thank you, Wi-Fi. We'll say SA or safe words. So it's either the case that it's always wrong to SA as a punishment, or it's not always wrong.
Okay.
And I take the side of it's always wrong. You can question my morality and where it comes from, but do you think it's always wrong to use SA as a punishment?
Yeah. Abuse, of course, yes.
And like women, like let's say I have a girlfriend and I, steal from a store. Would there ever be a case that her being punished by someone with SA would be okay?
No.
And if that someone was a god, would it then be okay?
God, by definition, does not command anything immoral. So,
And can we read out loud? If you want to read it, that's fine too. 2 Samuel 12:11. We can all read it. As long as we're not reading King James.
Bring it up. Want me to bring it up and read it?
Sure.
Sure. Go ahead. I'm just
First
pulling it up
Samuel
now.
what?
2 Samuel 12:11.
This is going to be out of the ESV. Thus says the Lord, behold, I will raise up evil against you out of your own house, and I will take your wives before your eyes and give them to your neighbor, and he shall lie with your wives in the sight of the sun.
Now, it then goes on in the verse 12 to say, what you did in private, I will do before all of Israel. And the proper context here is needed. David, as many of us know, sent Bathsheba's husband, Uriah the Hittite, to war. He lost his child due to sickness because of this, which is a horrible thing to do to someone. And later on, we see the fulfillment of this verse. I believe it is in 2 Samuel 16:21. I'm almost done. I won't try to be too wordy. And in the fulfillment of this, Absalom, who is David's son, full context once again, sleeps with 10 of David's wives / concubines. And it is definitely SA when you look at the context of it, and David being someone who kept the law. So I can go on with the premises, but I think we both agreed that it's always wrong to use SA as a punishment.
Matt, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I don't understand what he's saying. Sorry.
Well,
You said
Matt,
something was a punishment. What's the punishment? Spell the word out.
Whoa, interesting noise. Second, is that you or me or someone? Do you guys
Yeah, I'm
hear that?
looking at it. 2 Samuel. Yeah.
I don't know why I'm making a noise here. Oh, that's my timer. Sorry, I had a half timer on. That's my fault.
Are you
2 Samuel
confusing
12:11.
prescription with description?
No, it is very prescriptive. It is not descriptive because it says, "I will raise up calamity. I will take your wives. What you did in private, I will do." It is not. It is not descriptive in the least. It is God prescribing a punishment.
Okay.
So it's definitely not descriptive. It's very prescriptive.
Can I
Your
ask you
thoughts
some
on that?
questions?
Well, do you think what God? Well, first of all, do we agree that David's wives were sexually assaulted by essayed by Absalom? Do we agree
I don't
on
know
that?
what the essay is. I don't know what that is.
Sexually assaulted.
Yeah, we
Oh, okay.
just
Thank you.
sometimes with YouTube and the TOS we use safe words. I know.
Okay.
But
I got just like TikTok. Yeah. Unalive and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't understand what your argument is.
Well, no, I'm just getting agreement first that Absalom essayed Daniel's 10 wives.
There was some immorality there. That's right.
Yeah.
But this immorality was called forth by God. Even the word calamity that Wi-Fi used means evil in the Hebrew.
Okay. I'm still
So
waiting
God
for
says,
the.
I will call forth evil. And so I'm just getting us an agreement. God called forth prescriptively SA on those women, right?
I'm waiting for the problem.
But no, do you agree to that is the question first?
No, I won't agree because I haven't
You
checked it
don't
in.
agree. So what is your exegesis
Can
on
I please let me finish my
that?
sentences and you'll see why. Because I haven't examined the context of this in light of what you're asking. I always prefer to do an analysis to see if there's anything before or after, just contextually, before I commit to something. That's all.
Okay, so let's go through the context. Why is God bringing forth this punishment?
Because of sin,
And which sin is God bringing it forth for?
the sexual immorality.
And also
And
some,
murder of Uriah.
and yeah, and also you're right, the
Right.
Hittites going to
Mhm.
war.
Okay.
Okay, so that's context there. What other context are you missing?
Well, I'm just waiting for you to get to the coup de grace, what the problem is.
Well,
I
the
don't see any
problem
problem
is,
yet. You're citing something, but what's the problem? You're an
well, the
atheist, right?
problem, I'm agnostic.
Agnostic, so it's a subdivision of atheism. Are you saying this is morally wrong?
The problem is right now we're trying to jump over to my worldview. I'm just examining your worldview, and I want to know if you think this was a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, hold on a sec. Are you doing an external or an internal critique?
I'm doing an internal critique of your worldview.
Okay, well then anything God would do by definition can't be wrong. So have you ever heard of efficient and proximate causation?
God was the efficient cause of that, and then the Absalom was the proximate cause because he was the one there. But here's the issue. If you want to own this, I just want you to say with your chest, those women getting essayed was a good thing.
I didn't say it was a good thing. It's not prescriptive. God doesn't prescribe such things. What
So
he's
wait,
doing is, I don't know if you want me to talk,
go
because
ahead,
if I start to
go
talk, you
ahead.
keep jumping on me and you keep
Well,
stopping me.
it's
So hold
hard.
on. There you go doing it again.
Go ahead.
So there you go doing it. I've talked to thousands of atheists, okay? If you want to ask me a question, let me respond. I'll be glad to. But if you don't want me to talk, say, I don't want you to talk. I only want to attack. And then I'll just let you finish. So you tell me which one you want.
I'm trying to, it's hard sometimes to know who's talking. I will stop talking when you talk. Go ahead.
I asked which one do you want.
I want you to respond, then I'll respond.
No, you're not listening to what I'm saying.
I don't want to meta. I want you to respond, then I'll respond.
You're not responding to what I'm saying. Why is that?
Okay, then here's my next premise for you.
Oh, now you're dodging. Okay, go ahead.
So my issue is, I take the clear position that essaying women for punishment is always wrong.
This is in your worldview,
Even if
correct?
you are not the cause in the moment, even if you are not the one essaying them, if you are the one who opens the door for essay, which is what you're implying, that God simply opened the door for them to be essayed, like God removed his hand and allowed them to be essayed. But that's not what the verse says when we look at the context. It says, I will bring forth calamity. I will do this before all of Israel. So when we look at the context, it's very
Hold
clear
on.
that God is, well, now you're interrupting me, but you go ahead.
Well, you could say a bunch of stuff. Go ahead.
Okay,
You're not in for dialogue, are you?
So here's
You're
the
not in for
problem.
dialogue.
Here's the problem we run into is in the Christian worldview, as you said, God can only do good. So it's either the case that God is doing good here or the Christian worldview is false. Because you said that. That was the premise you gave me.
Can I ask some questions?
Go ahead.
Okay, what's evil there? Define it.
Well, it's in your worldview
Oh,
Evil would be the privation of good. I mean, your worldview.
We're at the
No,
10-minute mark, but we'll let it go for another 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's not the Christian worldview.
Go ahead, give your view.
So, not the privation of good. That's an ambiguous, useless kind of thing. So, evil, ra'ah in Hebrew, can have different meanings: calamity, difficulties. It can, but it's not an ontological evil, which is the purview of the evil one, Satan.
Mhm.
All right. So, it's not an ontological evil, but it's an evil of calamity that God would bring upon them, which is consistent with judgment upon them for their sin. So, there's no
So,
problem.
but you're saying the women had the evil brought upon them for the sin of David. So it is okay in your worldview to essay women for the sins of their husband. Is that
No,
okay?
God used. Sorry.
Is that okay with you? Yes or no?
It's not an issue of okay with me. What
No,
you're
do
trying
you
to.
find that morally good? Do you find that morally good?
Okay. I don't think you want to dialogue with me, do you?
Well, but you're dodging the question. You say it's not an issue with me. That's a dodge.
Well,
Is
hold
it
on a sec.
morally
I
good
go to answer and you keep interrupting. You don't let me dialogue with you. You're not interested in a real dialogue. Look, I'm old. Look, I've done this 1,000 times with atheists. I meet people like you all the time. You're not here to dialogue. You're here to press, point, and prove your point, but you don't want to dialogue and interact with the issues there. That's
You're the
that's
only
what I
one
see.
meta. You're the only one metaing, Matt. You're the only one metaing.
Oh, stop. Look, if you're going to be a diaperinian, I get it, okay? You can't handle this kind of a thing. I get it. I'm trying to ask you questions to see where you're coming from so that we can get to it, because you're the one who's saying it's morally wrong. What's that?
Ask.
See, here you go. Now define the evil in that context and what it is exactly.
The evil would be that the women were essayed as a punishment.
Okay, so then he will raise up approximately those things that would lead to that condition as a judgment upon them. Yeah, what's wrong with that?
Raising up sexual assault against women as a punishment for their husband doing something is evil.
It is? But you're an atheist. You don't have any background.
Okay, that's
Let
my
me
view.
finish. Let me finish.
Go ahead.
You don't have any understanding of what evil is. You don't realize that what you're doing is you're seeping in and trying to pressure in your moral system, which is bankrupt, into the system here and what God has said. First thing I said, I haven't studied the context completely. Second, you described evil. Okay, well, you got it wrong in the first point. Third, the issue of what God allows to happen. If you're going to go with an internal critique, you already are stuck, because by definition, the Christian God cannot do anything wrong. If you want to say it is wrong, you're trying to get me to say that it's wrong. What you're doing is imposing your value on it. So you're mixing an external and internal critique. See, this is why you guys don't want to have a dialogue, because I'm going to bust you on stuff like this. And so you're not being consistent. So I'm asking you again, if the Christian worldview is that God cannot do anything wrong, then it can't be possible that this is wrong. Is that correct or not correct?
Give me 1 minute to respond, and I will give you a pure answer.
Let's see if you do.
Okay, first off, there are a lot of...
We'll hear your response, and then that'll be time. And Matt, if you want to respond after that.
Go ahead.
So first off, the privation definition is something many apologists use, like William Lane Craig. Since it's not your definition, that's all right. But me giving you that definition is not uncommon. Second off, you're the one defending essay of women, saying, well, God only allowed it. God allowed the essay as a punishment, and that's okay. I am more than happy to get into my worldview, which is moral anti-realism and emotivism, which we can go through. Have you read much on emotivism and moral anti-realism?
Yeah.
Who have you read?
Well, before we go into that,
look,
we don't have time.
Stick here. Let's go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would love to know who you've read on it and what you've read on it. But my worldview is very coherent. I can condemn essay of women, and it seems to me, and Joel, if you would do this, I'm very interested. If you could throw up a poll, who did better, Matt or agnostic? I think that'd be pretty interesting in your chat. Just let your chat have that. Well,
you're the one doing most of the talking.
You're the one defending essay.
You don't realize, agnostic, what you're doing is you're pushing. You're not dialoguing.
You're talking, Matt. You started over talking me there. So look, you're the one.
Right, agnostic, you're out of time, man. You got to wrap up. Last sentence.
Okay, well, thanks for having me on. It was fun. Thanks, guys.
Hey, thanks for joining. Listen, this is the
Thank you,
problem.
agnostic.
This is the problem. I'm going to weigh in. This is the problem with atheistic criticisms of biblical morality or attempts to criticize God using morality is at some point you have to import some foreign alien standard of goodness that ultimately boils down to the atheist's personal preference. So what he tried to do was he tried to find an inconsistency in a worldview that does not allow for inconsistencies. So let's say that he asked a question at the beginning and he said, do you guys agree that this is always wrong? And I could say, sure, yeah, I based on that question, what you're saying, it sounds like it's always wrong. And then he goes, but see, look, God did this. Okay, one, we have to contextualize it. Number two, it's possible that I am mistaken. It's possible that I am mistaken because my personal moral judgments, just like the atheist, do not change what the biblical worldview is. The biblical worldview and the biblical moral theory, if you even want to call it that, is that God definitionally does not ever do anything wrong. So if we see God doing something in scripture, definitionally that is right. If I don't understand it, that's what I fall back on, is that God is always right. God is always good. Matt tried to get into proximate versus efficient causes. We could have gotten into like the decree of God versus like the decree of God versus real moral choice. Absalom could have still been sinning even though what Absalom did was in God's decree. We didn't get that far, but there is no internal critique of Christianity that results in God doing an immoral action. That's not something that's and that's not a weakness of the biblical worldview. That's a strength.
Right. So can I kind of conclude up a little bit?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I've met a lot of guys like him, and they're not interested in real dialogue. They're only interested in pushing an agenda, and I always resent that because they're not interested in defining terms really biblically, and they don't realize what they're doing is mixing an external and internal critique. If they want to go with an internal critique, which I try to introduce the idea of proximate and efficient causation, and I was impressed that he understood what it was right away, and I grant that. But then he noticed what he did is that he dismissed it. That is the issue in the area I wanted to go into, but he just, it's a backhand wave it away. Well, that's where the answer is. We can get into the issue of how sin can work in the world. And so I think he was mixing an internal and external critique because he wasn't going with what the scriptures are not prescribing, but describing. If you want to say that God's the one doing this, there's different senses in which God can do things, because we know that God ordained, for example, that Jesus is crucified in Acts 4:27-28, but yet in Acts 2:23, they are the ones, the individual, the people are the ones held responsible. This requires a deeper understanding of theology. And I find that most atheists don't want to go there. I believe that reason is because they hate God. They don't want to serve God. They don't want to submit to God. They only have a superficial or semi-superficial level of understanding. We get down to the deeper things, then they want to balk. They're going to say, nope, we can't do that. And they commit errors all the time. And I was showing it to him. And then he starts saying, do the meta. He was the one doing it. He doesn't realize it. And so scripture does not deny that innocent people can suffer for the sins of others. I mean, my own son died literally in my arms because of the sin of Adam that is filtered down through life. It doesn't mean that, this is what God prescribed. It's certainly what God allows. And when he says he can raise up people to do various things, he raised up Cyrus, he raised up the people of Israel, the Jews, the Gentiles, Pontius Pilate, and Herod, to do these things that he predestined to occur, which were evil things against God, against Christ. But at the same time, he's not the one who's culpable for that. That's where we got to get into the issue, and that is with proximate and efficient causation. And he didn't want to do that. He just dismissed it, went on. That's, in my opinion, an admission of defeat in the argument. He wasn't understanding it. And if he wants to say it's wrong, well, why is it wrong? And by the definition of what God says, it can't be wrong. So we've got to look for deeper understanding, but he doesn't want to do his homework.
Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like and subscribe to this channel. Here's a video that you should watch next. And if you really want to take your learning further, you need to know about the Hammer and Anvil Society, our premier discipleship community for Christian men. Learn more at thethink.institute/society. Until next time, I hope it made you think.